In today's video, I'm going to cover the whole entire market in terms of Dow Jones, Nasdaq, S&P 500, specifically the ETFs, SPY, QQQ. Going to cover the economic news in terms of economic calendar, U.S. Treasury 10-year, crude oil, so on and so forth. So hopefully you guys like the video. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. First, I'm going to start with the economic calendar. In terms of tomorrow, which is the most important thing, I'm going to start off at 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. we have the FOMC interest rate decision by the Fed. At 2:30 p.m. we have the Fed Chair Jerome Powell press conference. Again, that's the biggest thing for tomorrow in terms of what's going to be happening. Reason why towards the end it was just pretty much dropping down the whole entire market, because the market's waiting to see what the Fed's going to do, either prolong the interest rate cut or just not even have the interest rate cut. Well, it's essentially going to be prolong it anyway at the end of the day, even if they prolong it for 2 years and all that stuff. But my opinion, like always, is just my opinion. I'm not a professional, so please do your own due diligence and research before buying, selling. But I expect them to basically be neutral on what they're stating. So where they leave it open and they're saying we could still cut interest rates by the end of the year, we just have to assess it by like the data we receive and so on and so forth. Just because even though they received the PCE numbers and it was slightly higher, even though they were looking at the core and the energy was removed, with that, it was still slightly higher. I still think they don't want to drop the markets too fast. Like we saw today, the market did drop quite a bit. So if the market gets what they want in terms of knowing that the interest rates won't get cut, not necessarily what they want, but essentially the market doesn't want that, but it almost seems like the market's anticipating that rates will be pushed in a way, if that makes sense. So, and if you give that, it adds fuel to a fire in a way, and the markets will drop even further. But we got to go, we'll go step by step from that. So at 8:15 a.m. we have ADP employment. At 10 a.m. we have construction spending. 10 a.m. as well we have ISM manufacturing. At 10 a.m. we have job openings as well. And then at 2 p.m. like I stated with the Fed stuff. At 5:30 p.m. we have auto sales as well. So interesting stuff for tomorrow for sure, and especially for the Fed portion. We have the U.S. 10-year Treasury at 4.682%. We have crude oil at $81.55 barrel. So I'm going to go over QQQ first and then go over SPY and then the Dow Jones. So if we look in terms of long term, specifically MACD line and all that stuff, the long term is showing bearish movement, right? Even the 1 year chart as well, bearish. It was going to the bullish movement technically, but it's trying to drop back down into the bearish movement. Now for QQQ, it kind of makes sense because it has reached the top. So since 2010, upward trend resistance line, and then upward trend support level channel for the most part, and then 2020 to 2022 broke through it, but then got back underneath it and got knocked down. Technically, we could still head back down. Now, if the Fed pretty much states clearly that they're going to deliberately postpone the interest rate cut into potentially next year rather than this year, then I could see it completely solidifying the bearish movement fully for the 5 year and 1 year chart in terms of long term. And even the 6 month and 3 month and 1 month, all short term, we see more further drastic drops potentially. Again, this is just my opinion though. I don't think that they're going to be clear specifically. I think they're just going to leave it like almost like a mystery, hypothetically, where they're like, we still could, right? We just have to assess it based off the data we receive constantly, so on and so forth. But we'll see. So in terms of 6 month, 3 month, and 1 month, they're all in the bearish movement, showing more downside. And essentially what's going to happen, in my opinion, is the markets will technically, for the most part, go down until 2 to 2:30 p.m. 2 p.m. we'll see a spike up or spike down. And then 2:30 p.m. when Jerome Powell starts talking, we'll also see, potentially, to be honest, it's probably going to be a little bit of a drop unless from the notes they release, it's positive. Then it'll spike down, spike up, back and forth until he stops talking. And then the market will make a decision on what direction that they see fit based off what is stated by the Fed, right? Now, currently we're sitting at $424.59 for the QQQ, which is the ETF for Nasdaq. And after hours, we're at $423.20. Personally, I think more downside until 2 p.m. But either way, I'll cover the upside and downside. So if we were to head to the downside, we've already broke through the 424, 425 level for the most part. And then we could solidify or stabilize around 420 and not have further drops. But if we do break for below 420, then the next level brings us back down to that $460 and $418 price point. And then ultimately, it depends though. It depends on how fast the drop is, but I think we would pretty much be stopping around the 413, 414. because in a way, I think, let me see if I can drop it. So if it drops down till 2 p.m. constantly, pretty drastically, there's a chance we could hit 413, 414, where we saw it was support and resistance level, and then ultimately when they start talking, bounce back up if it's positive news saying that we could still see an interest rate cut based off the, like, when we are assessing the news as it comes in within the data and all that stuff, right? And then bounce back up to the upside. And if that is the case, maybe potentially close around the 418, 420, so on and so forth. $418, $420, right? So it depends. But if it gets even worse, we'll be dropping even lower. And then, it all depends on what they state. It's very hard to predict what they're going to say exactly, and at the same time, how the market will receive it. If it drops even lower than 413, we're essentially looking to consolidate around the 406, 409 price point, give or take. Yeah, or I guess $411 to $416, and ultimately the worst case scenario, we could see a bunch of support levels right about here, pretty much at $402, $403. But I don't anticipate that much major of a drop personally. I still think that 413, 414 will hold us. Again, predominantly around this region right about here, and we saw a little bit of a tick right here and here as well. Now to the upside, if the markets were to do well, we would go back up and have issues once again passing that I stated, $430 price point, and then after 430, we'll see a stop at 432, 433. I think that'll still hold just because this moving average might collide with it at the same time. We haven't passed the $434 price point, like the 432, 433, 434. So I do not think we'll go higher than that. If we do, we have chances of hitting this upward trend support / resistance level, which will act as resistance like we've saw in the past back in April 17th, give or take. And then this downward trend resistance line as well. So I'll just give a quick numbers just in case. $438 if we were to spike up to hit this resistance level, and this downward trend resistance level as well, we hit multiple times, it would be about $434. Now there is a bunch of resistance levels between those levels as well, but that's just the vague general standpoint. But in terms of SPY, so SPY shows the same thing in terms of long-term 5-year chart, 1-year chart. They're all showing bearish movement as well. So the 5-year chart within the channel since 2010 as well didn't break through though for the SPY / S&P 500. And then the 1-year chart shows the same thing as QQQ, I believe, where it was going to the bullish but showing bearish movement. 6-month, 3-month, 1 month, all short-term and long-terms, all pointing to the downside. Again, it all depends on what the Fed says tomorrow. Now, if we take a closer look, we broke through the levels. And the next level we're looking at is pretty much 500, 499. But I expect it to break through, to be honest, because by now till 2 p.m. tomorrow, it's quite a long time. So essentially, we're going to the next levels, which is about 494, 495. There is a little bit of support, 497, 498. Again, the problem is, given that there's quite some time till the meeting, I still think we're going to hit the 494, 495, and then consolidate about there potentially, and then ultimately hit 493. Where was it? It was 493. I don't think we'll go lower than 493 before the meeting, but if we do, then we're hitting the 491 to 490. But if the Fed meeting is good, then it'll bounce back up to go to the upside. And if that is the case, depends on how low we go. If we were to go to 494, 493, and then bounce back up to upside, pretty much be closing around the 500, maybe 501. Again, this is just my opinion. If we were to go to the upside somehow drastically, then we're going back up to the levels testing the 503, 505, the 507 to 508, 509 level. And I do not think we're going to pass the 510. Like we haven't. What I mean by not passing the 510, there's like 510 and some change, right? But it's quite difficult. We haven't hit 511, I believe, the whole entire time. Still haven't passed the 510 level for the most part. And then we have this downward trend resistance line that we got knocked down just like QQQ around the same time frame. And if we were to spike up past that level, or to hit that level, we're looking at 511 and the high 511 price point. So right now it's showing 511.79 cents. So there's that. Again, it's pretty difficult to assess how the market's going to react because it's unclear what the Fed will say exactly 100%. But till then, I'll keep you guys posted. If you guys do like the video, consider dropping a like. It does help the channel, so thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. And if you guys want to be notified when I do upload these videos, because I do upload them for the most part daily, consider following so you'll be notified when I do upload these videos. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.